In this video, I'm going to explain to you ET time travel and how it works, but most importantly, how this is actually valuable in our own lives and how you can actually apply it and use it to kind of live a better life. And this is one of the things that I've learned from the ETs and my experiences with them. That is honestly one of my favorites because this kind of thing is very exciting to me. See, I've been having ET contact ever since I was a kid. When I was a toddler, like before I could even really fully speak and express myself, I would be found disappearing. I wouldn't, they'd find me like out at the park at like 2 a.m., just wandering around or out in the mountains. And sometimes I'd just show up and nobody would know where I had been. So what's interesting is as I've progressed in my life and I'm older now, I have a lot more ET contact experiences these days that have a little bit more intensity to them. But what's interesting is that I have a lot of these gaps in my memory from my childhood where I would just all of a sudden find myself out in the mountains in the area I grew up. I grew up in LA in a suburb called Santa Clarita. If you guys have ever seen that show, The Santa Clarita Diet on Netflix, that's the town that I grew up in. So there's lots of mountains, like deserty off in the area. And I used to just find myself there. And it was like a memory gap. Like I had no idea what I was doing there, but something always felt different and really strange. So I actually found myself after these experiences. Nowadays, I remember that what I was doing was I was time traveling with the ETs. Now, this is just part of my life path and my life story unfolding. So everybody's got really cool stuff going on in their lives in different areas. And this just happens to be kind of the area for me where some crazy stuff just keeps progressing. So time travel, I've been obsessed with it ever since I was a kid, around the time when I started kind of disappearing and showing up in other places. I used to tell my friends and my family that I am a time traveler, that I know that I'm a time traveler. My girlfriend that I dated for 5 years in high school, I would tell her all the time at pillow talks where you're really expressing your true self. I'd be like, babe, I'm telling you, I can travel through time. Like I am going to be the one on this planet that discovers time travel. Now, I completely see it differently now that we are all time travelers and there's no need to discover time travel. Only remember the mechanics of what's already taking place and again, apply it to make your life more empowered. So now what I'm going to do is normally in my videos, I share with you all this information, all these concepts and mechanics. And then I tell you kind of what's the right way of putting it? I give you some gem, like something more towards the end of the video that is the main message that I'm trying to drive home. Today in this video, we're going to do it backwards. I'm going to tell you what is valuable about this by giving you a real life human world example of how you can apply this and understand it energetically and actually use it. And then I'm going to explain to you some of the mechanics of ET time travel. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. I've actually drawn out some pictures to show you guys because this is kind of one of those topics where it's like, there's a lot going on. So I drew some stuff to help kind of drive it in. So I'm going to set this up and I'll see you in a moment. Don't worry if you can't read my writing or understand my pictures. I'm going to explain it all. And this example might seem kind of random and like, what does this have to do with the topic of time travel and ETs? But again, I'm going to explain the mechanics of it and more of the ET stuff in a moment. This is a relevant example of how this would actually work in your life to make it, why would this information even be worth it to learn? Aside from the fact that it's interesting. This is why it's worth it. This is Peter. Now, Peter, back in the day, he was at a family get-together. It was a Christmas, and his grandma gave him his first guitar. Now, Peter, with that guitar, in that moment, he could have said to himself, oh, well, this is kind of cool. It's a guitar. He could have picked it up. He could have gone to strum a string, and it didn't sound that great. So he goes, it's not really for me, and shoves it off in a closet. Or Peter could have, in that moment, basically learned exactly how to play guitar, and he could have worked at it, and he could have decided in his heart, in that very moment that his grandma gave him the guitar, I'm going to be a famous musician one day. I'm going to make some awesome music. So those two different choices show direct polarized, basically timelines that he could connect himself to start moving towards. Now, here's something special about Peter. Peter has a special gift. He can actually see the future because he's a time traveler. So all time travelers are able to see the future and know exactly what the future is, as well as all the past, of course, that's connected with the timeline that they're on. Now, the moment a time traveler shifts to a new time reality, a new time space, the entire future and past for Peter shifts also. Now, we're going to explain that more again when I get into the mechanics, but here's what's relevant to the example. Why does this matter? Peter can see in the future, the very moment that his grandma gave him the guitar, he could see in his future that he is in a famous band that makes huge hit records, platinum, all of it, does epic shows. He can see in the future that he's in a band, famous band called Sound Doctor. So Peter knows for a fact that he's a famous musician. He can already see and he knows it. Peter knows this to his core, that he is in a famous band called Sound Doctor. So later on in life, as he's walking through his days, months go by, years go by, some days, he works at a job where he basically organizes shelves at a grocery store and he mops the floors. So not the most regal of jobs, but it doesn't matter to Peter because he knows that he is a famous musician. So one day, somebody walking through the grocery store that sees him mopping on the floor says to him, they're like, dude, this job seems really boring and hard. You're like, I'm sorry that you have to do this. You know, I feel for you, man. But Peter's got a big old smile and he says, yeah, I don't even mind. I enjoy this. This is awesome. Actually, I'm a famous musician. I'm in a famous band. I'm in Sound Doctor. This is just something that I'm doing right now, but it's not who I am, right? I am a famous musician. I am in the band called Sound Doctor. This is just something that I'm doing on the path to that. So Peter's able to respond in that moment as the version of him that is the famous musician. In this moment, here's the key to understand. The key to understand about Peter's life and his time travel capabilities is that Peter knows for a fact that he is a successful musician. So he already feels inside of himself distinguished. It doesn't matter that he's not in a band on stage playing for thousands of people right now because he knows that who he really is inside of himself, who he really is in this life, what's just around the corner is that. So he already is it. Now, what I'm not trying to say is that Peter has visualized himself as a famous musician and he believes that he's going to be that later on in life. That's not what I'm saying. It's a completely different energy. Peter's ability to travel through time and see the future is completely different energy. What it means is that he knows right now in this moment that he already is. It's already done. It's already happened. Because Peter exists in the future simultaneously as the present and the past. To Peter, as a time traveler, they're all connected. It's all the same. It's all right now in this moment. He is all of it. So it doesn't matter whether something's happening in the future or the past. Peter already is that right now in this moment. Now, here's the trick. Because Peter is vibrationally resonating from within, knowing that he is the famous musician in the band Sound Doctor, every single thing that happens on the timeline that he exists on, every single event, whether it's at school or someone says something to him at his work or a family get together or whatever it is, he gets sick one day, none of it basically has the ability to throw him off him being the famous musician and Sound Doctor because he knows he already is. So everything that happens, Peter responds to those incidences as the famous musician. Everything that happens in life. One day, he's at the grocery store and some guys walk through, some guys and another girl, they walk down the aisle and they're talking about music. And Peter's like, oh, I'm in the famous band Sound Doctor, right? He already is it. It's already happened. So he responds to them walking down the aisle by connecting with them and scheduling to meet up and jam together. Because Peter responded to this event as the version of him that knows he already is the famous musician, he was able to build a band with them that actually ended up becoming Sound Doctor. But if Peter was at work and he wasn't thinking, I already am a famous musician, but he was thinking, basically, I'm someone mopping the floors, I'm just cleaning, or I am somebody who's working a 9-to-5 job and this is my life. I'm someone who has school later. I'm going on a date later. If he was resonating as being that, then he would miss this opportunity of those bandmates walking down the aisle because he wouldn't be vibrationally resonating in that reality. So he would miss that opportunity. It's because Peter's a time traveler and can know what the future already is, and he has that knowing within him that everything that happens, he's able to respond to it as the famous band guy Sound Doctor. Is this making sense to you guys? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Because later on, he and his band Sound Doctor are playing at a street fair, at a swap meet. Now, if they were just playing at the swap meet street fair and they're just playing in the background and they're like, oh, God, making it in music is so hard. If that's the story they're telling themselves, like, man, nobody wants to listen to our music. Nobody comes to our shows. I can't believe we have to play at a street fair. We should be playing on stage. Because they know, and Peter knows that I am the famous band Sound Doctor, he's being that in that moment at the street fair. A producer who just happened to be shopping for his groceries there walks by and he feels that coming off of Peter and his bandmates. He feels that. He says, these guys are not just street fair musicians. These guys, these are like famous people. These people have the potential to be huge. And so the producer's able to recognize that and he signs them right then and there. And he says, come to my studio. Boom, Sound Doctor is born. None of this would have happened if Peter, the moment his grandma gave him the guitar, he didn't know inside of him that that's who he is. So this is what makes time traveling relevant. This is the main excitement for me that I wanted to share this video with you guys. Because the idea is that time travel is absolutely possible, and we are all time travelers actually, which I'm about to get into in the mechanics. We shift constantly through different possibilities. There's infinite potential. You could choose right now in this very moment to pursue anything. And if you actually committed to it and you were absolutely sure within yourself that I already am this, then you would be the perfect vibrational resonance that every single thing that happens leading up to that, you would use it as a stepping stone to propel yourself in the direction of that goal. Because you know it's already who you are. It's already happened. You're not fighting to make it happen. You're not trying to create this reality for you. It already is your reality. You're just letting it come to you. That's the power of time travel. This is what the ETs have mastered, and this is part of the vibrational resonance and the energy that I experience when I'm with them and when I do my own time traveling. Because the key to understand is that our ego mind wants to make time travel this huge old ordeal, like Back to the Future. That's what people think it's like. You can go back to the future and kill your grandpa, and then you were never born, right? People think about it, but it's not linear. The universe is infinite. There's all these different potentials. If you go into the past and you kill your grandpa, what you're doing is you're killing a different version of you's grandpa, because that doesn't change the fact that you exist. Now, I don't want to confuse anybody too much, but the idea is that this is what's relevant about it. This, in my opinion, is what you can actually learn from what I'm about to show you in the mechanics of ET time travel. This is what you can actually put to the human experience and use it to your advantage. Because what you're about to learn in the concepts is that time travel is real and it's already happening. Cool. But this is why it matters, because you can use it to live a better and more fulfilled life, to know and have faith and certainty within yourself that the version of you, whatever you want to be, already exists in a certain frequency and timeline wave out in the universe. All you have to do is vibrationally connect to it and respond to every single event that happens in your life as if it's already happened, as if you already are that. Be that version now. This is just a new way to express information that we've been sharing on Vibes and Frequencies for a whole month now. So now I'm going to get into the mechanics of ET time travel and share with you. Now we're stepping away from the human application and we're going to step into how the ETs are actually time traveling. So I'll be back with you guys in just a second. Okay, so this here is meant to represent a ET craft that this little ET guy is flying in. So here's the deal. ETs know something that is the truth about the mechanics of reality. See, people often mysticize ET experiences and many other metaphysical phenomena that happen in our world, and they make it seem and basically interpret it as this totally magical event that is outside of the laws of nature. It's unbelievable. But the only reason that these events are able to take place is because the beings who are in alignment with them know that these actually are the mechanics of nature. You can't do anything against the laws of nature. You can't. The way that magic and metaphysical phenomena happen is by going with the laws of nature. See, magic is absolutely possible, but you cannot change the laws of nature. Magic is possible by someone who understands the laws of nature and goes with them. So this is what the ETs have done. right? They're already advanced more than us to a level where they are understanding the laws of nature and moving with them to a greater degree. You can probably see on Earth how humans are kind of going against nature. So this is kind of something that we can take away from this too, is like, we're being kind of silly about that. We're trying to force our own ideas into reality instead of just looking at what reality is, deciding what we want to do, and then going with reality. Go with the flow. That's where powerful creation happens. Not resisting what is, but going with what is and using it to your advantage. So the ETs know that we are all time travelers. They know this. To them, it is clear. It is simply the mechanics of reality and how it works. We are all time traveling all of the time. Every single moment you are shifting through a multitude of dimensional realities. Your consciousness is sitting in this exact body right now like a chair, but that's all it is. It's a chair you're sitting in. In human life, if you as a human sat in a chair and you sat in the chair for a few days, just because you were sitting in that chair for a few days, it doesn't mean that you are the chair. It means you're sitting in that chair. Right now, your consciousness is sitting in a certain chair. The chair is your human vehicle, basically, and that chair exists on another chair. This opportunity of reality and what is happening in this dimension of it. But it's not who you are. It's just what you're sitting in currently. It's not you. It's part of your expression and experience. But as humans, we often identify with the chair. We start walking around thinking that we're a chair, but we're not. It's just something you sit in, and you'll stand up out of it one day. So here's the deal. ETs are able to basically be aware that they're constantly playing musical chairs and shifting into different seats. You and I are doing the exact same thing. In every single moment, you're shifting into a new chair, a new perspective of your consciousness. It's basically expressing itself in so many ways because you're infinite and that amazing. So we're basically playing musical chairs all the time, just like the ETs. The difference is that the ETs have a higher awareness of that. They've developed to a point where they're able to see what is happening more clearly. Now, the only reason the ETs are able to see with much more clarity than us is because they are looking at the way that things are. As humans, most of us are staring at the chair really intensely. We're very serious about the chair. We're very serious about all the problems that have to do with the chair we're sitting in. We're so focused on all of this nonsense that we aren't able to direct our attention to the real magic of reality. It's simply because we're not looking at it. It doesn't mean it's not there. We just aren't looking at it, whereas they are. So they're seeing it because they're looking at it. It's that simple. If you want to see something, look at it. It's really that easy. So they can see exactly that we are shifting all of the time. Now, the ETs have actually built and manifested via this vibrational resonance and intelligence actual craft that go with the laws of nature, with them, not against them, with them. It goes with the laws of nature. Now, these are actually biological spacecraft that connect to the ET who's manipulating the craft, but the craft is an extension of the ET. The consciousness sits in the ET like a chair. The ET chair builds another chair to sit in that is another extension of it, the craft. So that's how they're able to actually use the craft to move through time and space. They're literally able to dimensionally shift and teleport into a plethora of realities that have slight and subtle differences, as well as massive differences. The ETs are just like doing mind-blowing stuff, but the crazy thing is that it's actually not that mind-blowing. It's simple. It makes sense what they're doing. As humans, we are the ones who are doing all this nonsense by focusing on what makes sense and what doesn't. Like, so ironic. So there's all these different timelines and possibilities happening. Now, the ETs are constantly shifting through them. Again, the same exact way that you are. They're able to just teleport and be there. Now, you and I are actually able to do the same exact thing. As a human, you are also able to teleport even without a craft. You don't need a craft to do that. That's the secret to time travel. You don't need a time traveling machine. Your consciousness is the time traveler. You don't need anything. You have all the tools. All you have to do is open your eyes and see that, and it becomes possible. So here's the deal. You are right now on, let's say, this timeline. You're right here. Now, if you want to get over here to this area where you, I don't know, have some kind of different career or live in a different part of the world or whatever, The idea is that you want to shift there instantly. I'm sure you do, because it's exciting to think that you could just close your eyes, open them, and be there. Now, it's my personal understanding that it doesn't actually work that way because of the human reality. Now, for ETs, they can do that, and they are doing it. And because they're able to do it, they're coming here to those of us humans who are open to that experience and are choosing to be part of that, to bring in that ET energy to the planet. You guys probably heard about starseeds, right? So this is part of it. And this is part of why this is happening for me, because this is something I've chosen on a higher level to come and do. On the human level, you can't just instantly teleport to a different timeline where you instantly close and open your eyes and you're there. The reason for this is because on a higher level, the consciousness that you are, you have actually chosen to come to, I was going to draw it, but it's fine. You've chosen to come to Earth. Now, the Earth reality has rules. The same way you open up a box of a chess game versus cards versus, some other kind of board game. They all have different rules. You have sat down in a chair agreeing and choosing to play the Earth game. The Earth game has certain rules. The rules are there not to basically make it so your experience sucks, but to make the experience fun. The rules are part of the joy of the game that you're sitting in the chair playing. So that's the idea to get behind and understand, is that you can't do the same exact things that they're doing because they're playing a different game. They've chosen to play a different game. Right now, you're choosing to play this one. So just be here and play it. What we can learn from ET time travel, and what we can learn from the fact that we are already shifting constantly, we just don't realize it, is exactly what I shared with you in the first example. Apply it by knowing how powerful and infinite you are, by knowing that you can connect to any reality. The laws of nature are the same in both games. The ET game, the human game. The laws of nature are the same. There's different rules that you use, just like a deck of cards, for example. You could play Go Fish, or you could play War, or you could play Gin Rummy. They're different games, but the laws of nature are the same. There's these cards, there's these face cards, there's this certain amount of cards, and that's all there is. There's not a 13. You're never going to pull out a 13. It's a jack, right? Or I'm sorry, so that would be a queen. Anyways, you guys get what I'm saying? That's the laws of nature. So the laws of nature for both games are the same. You are constantly shifting and you are time traveling. But the rules of how you play the cards in the game is different. So the way you play time travel in the human reality is not by instantly closing and opening your eyes and being somewhere else, but by allowing it to unfold. In the Earth reality, you're choosing a rule called time. It's part of what you want to experience. That's why it's happening. So the way that you use that is you know that you can still achieve and be on any timeline. That is the laws of the nature. That is all the cards in the deck. That doesn't change. That's just the mechanics of how these games work. They all are used to play cards. You use cards to play them. You use shifting to play all of the games that I personally know of the different realities. Cards are used for all of them, as the analogy, I mean, of course. So basically what happens in Earth is you use time to unfold. You can know that this is the laws of nature, that you are able to shift and be anything and experience anything. But you have to understand that you've agreed to sit down and play the Earth reality game where it takes time. So on the timeline that unfolds in your life, what you need to do is anytime any event happens, just like in the example I shared with you previously, anytime any event happens at all, you simply use it to your advantage to propel yourself towards the exact reality that you want to experience in the Earth game. So instead of instantly shifting, you have to understand that it's going to take time, but you have to be that version of you in every single moment for it to be possible. And that literally is time traveling. It literally is. It's just that it plays out differently in the Earth reality than the ET reality. Now, I actually have a course below called Unlock Your Highest Vibrational Self, and one that's all about the key manifestation principles that have changed my life. Now, information like this, 5D mechanics, basically the coolest stuff to me that I love more than anything, that's packed jam full in all those courses. And I've actually got a holiday sale right now, a holiday blowout sale in the courses. That's going until after Christmas. So you guys can check that out below. I highly recommend it. But I've got a lot more information coming for you guys through in free content also on YouTube. So make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, and let me know what you think below. This stuff is just so awesome to me. And it works. Like, I literally applied this and it works. Because when something is the laws of nature, it just works. And that's the key energy to understand. Go with it. Don't go against it. Go with it. Thanks a lot, guys. Much love to you. I'll see you for the next video.